welcome to the Parent Advocacy Resource Team for parents and children of all ages and stages. I'm Irene Gouge, founder of Loving Lesson Sleep Consulting and Postpartum Doula Solutions, and your host here at PART, Parent Advocacy Resource Team, where we help parents feel more confident in raising humans through education, advocacy, and community. So before we get started, one of the things we want to talk about as parents is sometimes we never realize there's things we might do or things we might say in the parenting journey. And we never realize how our little ones will remember it, perceive it, and even like the things that we might have these moments of like, I can't believe I just said that. So I'm super excited to hear what our guest Jillian is going to share with us about maybe something she never thought she would say as a parent. Jillian is a master certified life and health coach and creator of the Body You Crave Method. She teaches busy people how to eat healthy without needing willpower or feeling deprived so that they can lose weight, eating the foods that they love. So welcome, Jillian.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of things that we do or that we say as parents that we don't quite realize is like kind of funny or off, like not something we would typically say in public or, you know, outside of these realms. For me, my son's only a year and a half old. So I feel like I don't know that I have a whole lot to pull from, but ever since he was like a little, like the first time we took him to the pediatrician's office, she had asked like, oh, is he having a good pee or good poops? Like, you know, like good pees. And so now whenever I change his diaper, I'm like, oh, what a good pee. That is so great. Like, what a good poop. Good job. And so it's one of those things like, I never thought I would be praising pee and poop before.
I love it. Yes, I was super excited about those moments too. Like, what was that like? What happened? Yay. So my boys would probably not love this, but I still check on them even as teens. I'm like, well, what was that like? You know, I was like, who knew you would have all these kinds of conversations? Who knew?
Yeah.
The parenting journey is pretty wild. Well, I'm super excited to have you share with us a little bit about what you do and the Body You Crave Method. Tell me how you got started or kind of what's the background story?
Yeah. So it's so interesting. I started actually, my first business was a cake and cupcake shop in Bangladesh. So I started doing something totally different. I studied international relations and then Russian. I was a double major. Then I moved to Dhaka and I started a bakery. So it was like very logical. But I just like to, you know, like it was a God thing. There was no other way to describe it other than like, that's where he wanted me. And I could see now that I got to pursue a dream of running a bakery, having this cake and cupcake shop, which I thought was like just the coolest thing ever, even though it didn't look exactly like what I thought it should, right? I feel like that's kind of how God works is he's like, oh, I'll give you the desires of your heart. It just might not look like what you think, but I'll give it to you. I then also met my husband there, who is a Marine security guard at the time, and we met at the embassy. So it was a really cool experience. And that's what got me into entrepreneurship. And so coming back to the US, I was like, well, that was super fun to work for myself. How do I do this again? And also realizing that I'm not an ace of cakes. Like I am not going to be making a living off of these cakes and cupcakes and things like that, which was okay. But I spent a few years working some other jobs, getting into marketing. I was a nanny for a few years, kind of just in a variety of things that all kind of played into what I do now. So I got into the coaching world in 2016. I started with more social media and business coaching. And while that was something I was good at, it wasn't like my zone of genius. And so I spent a few months while I wasn't coaching, went back and found a job, and then really spent some time thinking about, okay, I would like to still have a business. What does this look like? I wanted to be in the coaching world. I wanted to be helping people. And it kind of dawned on me like a light bulb of like, oh my gosh, I should be a health coach. Like this is what people come to me for. That I've been very health minded my entire life. And it was funny too, when I told people, they were like, didn't you already think of this? Like, how was this not on your radar before? You know, it's like one of those things that's right in front of your face. And so over time in working with clients and then also working on my own journey and my own relationship with food and body and exercise, it's what kind of shifted me more into emotional eating, cravings, really looking at our thoughts and how our thoughts are so intertwined in like how we think and feel about ourselves and how that impacts and determines how we show up in the world. So it's kind of just been this this kind of like, I feel like it's been lily pads or like stepping stones of like, first I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go there. And, I think it's easy for us to get caught up thinking that life should be a straight line and it's just a straight shot, when a lot of times there's a little back and forth and kind of moving around, and it's not this direct, straight, shortest path. And that's okay. That's all part of the journey, whether that's in a career, in a relationship, or in parenting.
Jillian, I love what you just said. Like, it's not a straight line, because you know what? My old self used to really want that straight line. I was like, this is
Yeah.
how I'm going to learn, right? But
Yeah.
I've been learning to embrace learning is messy and it's a
Yeah.
process. And I totally agree with you on everything you're saying in terms of like that mindset piece. It's
Mm-hmm.
like we don't realize the impact it has on all the things that we do,
Mm-hmm.
especially that thinking part. We can't stop thinking throughout the day.
Yeah.
Sometimes be a little consuming. So tell me, Jillian, a little bit about the part. Do you feel like your opening of the cupcake store, like, do you see that creep into your business now? Like, do you see areas of that connection of like
Oh,
what you were
yeah.
doing there and what you're doing now?
Yeah. So it was actually really fascinating. I was just talking with somebody else about this. When I had a cupcake shop, cake was all around, brownies, cookies, like there were sweets and desserts everywhere. So it was really interesting because I never had to overeat on cupcakes or desserts and sweet treats, because it was going to be there the next day and the day after that and the day after that and the day after that. And like for 2 years I did this. And so it really, like, I didn't realize it at the time and fully connect the dots. But when you create this healthier relationship to food, to where food is not bad and it's not off limits and it's not never can I ever, then it's like we loosen this death grip around it and we can create peace and ease and confidence. A lot of times we get into overconsumption, overeating, emotionally eating, because we have a thought of like, this is a bad food, I'm being bad when I eat it, so screw it. I already ruined the day. Might as well just keep going. Or I'm being bad. I might as well go really bad. Just right. We have this whole like go big or go home kind of philosophy where it's like, if I'm going to be bad and eat the cupcake, well, shoot, I might as well go through the drive through and order all the nuggets and the fries and then come home and have an ice cream sundae, because it doesn't matter now. Like, who cares? Why bother? And it goes back to this kind of all or nothing thinking, versus if we realize that, oh, no, if I can have cake every single day if I want to, like, and still lose weight and still be healthy, that sounds like a win-win, right? But we can't be thinking of food as being bad or off limits or never can I ever. So a lot of it takes some unwinding of a lot of our diet philosophy and things that we've kind of grown up with over years, whether it's certain foods are bad, like sugar. And I hear this a lot of like, sugar is toxic, it's addicting, it's so evil. And then you have this love hate relationship with it and you feel miserable because of that. So we really want to just create more ease and comfort around food, to where it's also, it's not off limits, but it's also not the highlight of your day, to where like eating ice cream at the end of the night isn't your main source of joy, pleasure, adventure, comfort. So that's what kind of feeds into the more of the emotional eating aspect, because our brain simply learns that food creates a rapid, reliable, and effective sense of relief. It helps us to feel good. So we just want to look at, what problem is this food solving for us? And then we can start to work on, oh, if I'm feeling stressed, I actually don't need a cupcake. Or if, oh, I'm feeling hard on myself, or I realize I have a lot of shame and judgment about how I'm parenting and how I'm showing up as a mom today, like, I don't need to distract myself and self-soothe with something in the freezer or something in the pantry. So that's how this all kind of comes around, is like there's very much life coaching as there is health coaching.
Yeah, no, that sounds really amazing in terms of thinking about the mantras you're sharing. I tend to
Mm-hmm.
operate in mantras, and I love that you're saying those things. So I'm assuming you maybe incorporate those into your program where you can walk away with some of these tips and tools.
Yes. And the thing about mantras is that it has to be applicable to you. Number one, it has to feel true and believable. And typically, if it's going to be a positive mantra, it has to combat the doubt or fear that you're already experiencing. So you have to try them on like you would try on a pair of jeans. Right. What we see in the window may not actually look good on our figure. We might have to try a different size or a different cut or a different wash. Like, we're all going to have different brands and different types. Like, I don't know how many thousands of brands of jeans there are, right? Like,
Sure.
clearly there's not a one size fits all. And the same thing is true of mantras. So making sure that you find things that work for you, that feel believable, that feel true. And it could be something that you're stepping into or that you're learning and growing into. It might not be that you can feel 100% positive about it, but it's like, I'm open to believing this. I'm willing to believe this. I'm open to this possibility. Even just adding some prefixes or suffixes, like that's something I used to think, if it's an old thought that doesn't serve you, and I'm open to X, Y, and Z. And because how we talk to ourselves is so crucial in how we do, just how we live life. It's the crux and it's the core of how we end up showing up in life, for better or for worse.
I love all that. That is all really good stuff and so true. And I think that's a really great analogy about the genes.
Yeah.
I think that's really great. And I think sometimes too, it sounds like you're really personalizing the information that you're sharing. It's like for that particular person, that particular parent, because I think in parenting, it seems like we're bombarded with these messages of like, this is the right way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like with sleep, like a lot of times there's so much shame and judgment that parents come into, and it's figuring out how do we unpack some of that and recognize what works for me as like the mom, the dad, and who this child is in front of me. And so I think it's this journey we're all in as parents and figuring out what that process looks like.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So if somebody were interested in learning more about working with you, Jillian, what would that look like? And what is your program, or like, how does that work for you?
Yeah. So the best place to go is to www.bodyyoucrave.com. So go to the website, or my podcast, also called Body You Crave. You can find it on all major podcast apps, but that's a great way to get a sense for my philosophy, my views, kind of my approach to things. I work with clients for 6 months at a time. We work one-on-one, and we get really clear on how do we design the life and the body that you crave, because a smaller body doesn't fix a broken self-concept. We have to get clear on how we think and feel about ourselves, how we think and feel about our jobs or careers, our kids, our marriage, or having a spouse or being single. How do we think about all of these things? Because that's going to play a role in how we do life as like just in this bigger, larger aspect. And I also like to share that we don't eat in a vacuum. We eat because we're stressed because of what's going on at work. We eat because we had a fight with our spouse or with a parent. We eat because our kid had a meltdown in Target or the grocery store or the middle of church. And you're like, oh my gosh, this should not be happening. Or, because maybe your teenager is like misbehaving or rebellious or talking back, right? It can happen at all different stages. And so we just want to get clear on like what's going on. So I teach people tools, resources on how to coach themselves, as well as giving them that feedback and that external perspective of, have you thought about it like this? What else have you tried? So it's new ideas. It's a new approach. We do look at food. We look at things like movement, sleep, water, all the kind of basics that we need to have in order to kind of live and maintain a healthy lifestyle. But we also then look at a lot at what is our mindset? Like, what are my thoughts about food and food rules? What are my thoughts about what a good mom does and how a good mom shows up and what she shouldn't be doing? Or, because we can have a lot of shame around like, oh, I yelled at my kids again, or like I spanked my kids and I told them I promised myself I would never do that. And here I feel like I'm turning into my mom, or I'm turning into my dad, or like we can have a lot of fear around patterns that we see repeating because we never really understood or learned a new way to do that. And so all we know is what we grew up with. And so it can feel very hard when we're now in that moment where we're like, oh, well, now what do I do? Like I said, I wanted to do something different, but I don't know what different looks like. So I work with clients on all realms in all different areas. And it's like when you start with one area, it has this ripple effect into all others, just like I'm sure you'd see with sleep. And that is one of the things that I love and preach on is like when you get sleep down, it helps with cravings, it helps with urges. You are now, because when you aren't sleeping well, you are 30% more hungry and 20% less satisfied. So you're 50% more likely to overeat, right? Like it's got all of these benefits now to where when you're sleeping, it's like things just get better, your mood, your attitude, all of that. So I'm a firm believer, and it's like, let's work on one area and just recognize that the ripple effect will roll into all of these other things. But let's have some grace and compassion while you're in the process and getting there.
Yes. I say grace and forgiveness all the time. Our children are very filled with grace and forgiveness through all the messy things that we do.
Yes.
Jillian, something that you brought up that I'm wondering, like if a parent is working with you,
Mhm.
they might be changing the story that they share with their child and the relationship that they have with food and like the things that they thought about.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And that's my whole goal, is that it's not just about you changing your relationship. It's like the entire family's perspective changing
Mm.
now. And that's something that has been brought up, is like, well, how do I talk to my kids, or my, especially my girls, my younger girls who maybe the doctor told them they needed to lose weight, or maybe they feel like they are overweight or like they're bigger than their peers. And so it's like, how do you talk to them and encourage like healthy habits, healthy body image, healthy confidence and self-esteem? So there, and a lot of what we don't realize is that so much of what we do and we say is picked up by our kids when they're first born. Like from that 0 to 7 years old range, they are downloading and absorbing everything around them like a sponge. And they're learning that this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. And so we can't always control what they're picking up and learning, but a lot of times it's, this means that. This is how I'm loved. This is how I'm accepted. This is like the right way, or this is okay, but over here, this is better. And so it's all about how do we now interact with our kids in a different way and teach our kids like, oh, you can listen to your body. Like we don't eat out of a bag of chips. We put the bags in a bowl, and, or, the chips in a bowl, and then we eat from the bowl. Like simple habits like that. Listening to like, oh, I have rumbling in my stomach. I must be a little hungry. Or, oh, you know what? I'm satisfied. I'm going to put this food in a container and we'll put it in the fridge and we'll have it for later. You can teach them good, positive habits about really listening to their body, but we can't teach what we don't know. So we have to like become that and develop that ourselves.
Yeah, Jillian, little confession that I have to make. I grew up in the Clean Plate Club. And so I
Yeah.
really had to relearn and the stories that are said. And it's interesting now when I go home and visit family, like
Uh-huh.
literally that relationship with my mom, I'm like, whoa, we can really not talk about food this way. And I have to continuously reframe the conversation. But I
Uh-huh.
could see how, I still have some mindset work to do around food. So I may need to
Uh-huh.
check that out and learn a little bit more, because I can see like there's things that I'm thinking about right now. And I'm like, yeah, like these are the messages that I'm sending to my boys. And I oftentimes will
Yeah.
share with families like our children aren't going to do what we say, they're going to do what we
Uh-huh.
do.
Uh-huh.
And, they're watching and absorbing all that, like you
Yes.
said. And so I think that's really important for our parenting community to
Mm-hmm.
recognize, like I didn't realize that that was happening when I was in that
Mm-hmm.
season. And so if
Mm-hmm.
I would have known that, I would have been like, what support
Mm-hmm.
do I need to help me through?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's
Yeah.
wonderful to be
Yeah.
learning about the different support people that we have that can
Right.
meet families and help us make these connections to simplify the parenting journey a little bit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So Jillian, I could talk to you all day, and I think we would have so much more to learn with you, but I'm wondering if you can share maybe your best self-care tip, because I think that as parents, we can get weeded in the day-to-day stuff. And, I hear the mantra a lot of times, the days are long, but the years are short.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you do to take care of yourself, or what's something that you encourage others to do?
Yeah. So I think self-care starts with your thoughts. It starts in how are you thinking and talking to yourself? That's where the self-care is going to start. It does not matter if you are out getting massages, doing your nails, in a bubble bath. If you are beating yourself up, constantly criticizing, nitpicking, shaming, and you're never feeling good enough, never feeling like you've always got something to complain about, you're always doing something wrong, you're always a failure, like it's not going to matter if you're doing all of these other quote nice things for yourself. You've got to manage your thoughts about you. That is the number one thing. And the number one relationship is for you to work on you. How are you thinking and talking to yourself? And that will have such an impact on how you now talk to your kids, how you parent them, how you communicate with the father if he's involved, or other people in your life who might be raising him, whether it's caregivers, parents, siblings, things like that. It is going to have such a big impact, but you have to change that conversation with yourself. So for me, self-care starts in thinking about like, what am I proud of myself for today? what did I do really well? Like, what do I like about myself? And really being honest and looking at like, can I name something every day for a month as to what I really like about me, and spend some intentional time getting focused on here are all the good things that I'm doing. Here's the progress that I made today. Here's one win that I achieved. Here's like a decision that I made, like, and this was the best decision I could have made this week or this month, like really getting focused on the positive impacts on how you are doing things well and how you're making improvements and making that progress. That is so huge. So if you're going to spend any time on self-care, it starts by praising and validating yourself.
Oh, I love that. And I'm actually going to challenge everyone to post a comment down below this video and tell us something kind and compassionate about yourself. Tell us what you're proud of about yourself in your parenting journey, and celebrate. And I'm going to extend the challenge to do that for the next 30 days, because I think, again, it's like building that little habit little by little, and you'll improve on that, and it's going to make a huge impact.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jillian. It has been an absolute pleasure connecting with you and learning more about you and what you're doing with the Body You Crave. And so here, we just wanted to say thank you from PART, the Parent Advocacy Resource Team, where we partner with parents to navigate the journey of being a family through education, advocacy, empowerment, and connection. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, Irene.